Here's the tale of how a skyblocker sold his soul to the devil and skyblocked himself. Ever since I started playing Skyblock, since the release of the Slayers update, I came across the 3 legendary artifacts of the 3 Slayers. It enticed me and I set to work to get them, starting with the Reaper Scythe. I eventually bought it because my luck sucked. However, shortly after I got the Mosquito drop given from the heavens, I crafted it into the sacred legendary artifact known as the Mosquito Bow. And then I realized how close I was to collecting all 3 pieces of the puzzle to finish the collection. To prove the mastery of every single Slayer, I knew I had to get the last artifact, the Overflux Power Orb. And with that, I grinded Savan, but to no luck, and to no avail. So, I sold my soul to Skyblock, and turned to the Brute Fathers for help, and brutally murdered them for their web to craft into armor to sell. Eventually, I gathered thousands of kills on the poor Brute Fathers, and I sold their bodies off to the auction house for money to finally get my 100 million coins to buy my Overflux Power Orb. But then, it still wasn't enough. I still lacked coins, but time was lacking. Time was ticking. The deal was arriving. I had to get it. So I sold my superior armor just to get the last bit of coins to buy the Overflux Power Orb from the devil himself. I made a deal with the devil, but it was worth it, cause now I get a floating red orb. Hello guys, so right now I will be reviewing onto whether you should really buy the Reaper Scythe. First and foremost, the Reaper Scythe has this ability which summons a zombie every time you kill an enemy. So like for example, you can, every time you kill an enemy, you have a chance to use 150 mana to summon a zombie. So if I kill the spider here, I can right click and I summon a zombie for 150 mana. Now these zombies will copy 30% of my total stats. So if let's say if I do like 40,000 a hit, that means my zombies will be doing around 15,000, around there. Around 13,000 to 15,000 a hit. So I know some of you guys may be asking, and some of you guys have commented on my previous videos because I've been using the Reaper Scythe. You guys have been asking whether the Reaper Scythe is actually worth it. So today I'll tell you whether the Reaper Scythe is worth it. So I'll summon a bunch of zombies to help kill the spider, and with this, as you can see, my spiders are doing around 17,000 damage whenever I swap my weapon to this stick scorpion foil. Because these zombies now copy the stats of my new weapon, and with that, they now do more damage. So right now, as you can see, I am able to damage, okay. So as you can see just now, although it wasn't very clear, I was able to attack the boss, even though the zombies were attacking it in the process. The reason why this is pretty huge, because back in the days when the Reaper Scythe was first released, the Reaper Scythe actually had zombies that gave invincibility frames. So that means if the zombies attack something, that basically meant that you cannot attack that same mob in the same second or in the same frame. So basically that meant that your zombies, especially if you summon like 5 of them, your zombies will be the one doing most of the attacks. And why is that a problem? Well, that's because your zombies only copy 30% of our stats. So if anything, if you had to choose between your zombies or you hitting the thing, it will be better for you to actually physically hit the mob in the first place, rather than letting your zombies do 30% of your damage and deny you the ability to hit. So basically, with the 0.7.5 update, which make the Reaper Scythe get 33 extra damage, which is honestly quite insignificant, because no one really uses the Reaper Scythe as their main weapon, but everyone uses it as their ability weapon. So yeah, it's kind of stupid, honestly. But if 0.7.5, they actually made it so that the Reaper Scythe actually summons zombies that no longer do iframes. As you can see here, the 2 zombies are attacking my boss, while then I am still attacking the boss and dishing out 50,000 damage a hit. So with the removal of the invincibility frames, I would honestly have to give an reply to whether is it actually worth it to buy the Reaper Scythe. My answer to that would be possibly. You should buy it now while it's cheap, before they buff it again, or before dungeons come out and the Reaper Scythe actually becomes useful. In that scenario, and honestly, I believe most of the final Slayer items right now, like the Overflux Power Orb, the Reaper Scythe, and as well as the Mosquito Bow, will all be very useful in the Dungeons update, because it only makes sense. Right now, they are just way too powerful for the current content. Like, there is no use for you to use a Reaper Scythe. Like, you can just use a Reaper Falchion and kill tier 4 zombies. You can just use a normal Scorpion Foil without the zombies to kill any Tarantula boss. There is no good reason for you to even use the Reaper Scythe, or even a Mosquito Bow, or even an Overflux Power Orb, because the problem is, every single thing in the game that can be completed does not even require the assistance of these final Slayer tier items. So this is generally, I guess it's not a problem, I guess it's good, because that means like new players or endgame players who haven't progressed to like actual like endgame where actually they have nothing to do anymore, like me, or like almost have absolutely nothing to do left, who almost have absolutely nothing left to do. I think that's fine on their part, but I feel like eventually these items will be put to good use, and like their power levels will be tested, like in dungeons. Like, as they said, Jaya, actually the admin, said that dungeons will be infinite, so basically it could cater to every single type of difficulty. So even if you're a player who has every single final Slayer item, which is going to be useful because they are honestly a lot stronger than the current items, basically it will make it so that the Slayer items would actually be very useful later on, which means that likely the demand for these items would increase. Therefore, it will be expected to have an increase in price. So the best case scenario for you is to buy it right now, like buy the Reaper Scythe right now, because the Reaper Scythe has been dropping in prices. Back in the days, it was going for like 70 million coins, but now it's like 50 million coins, like I think 40 million coins for an unenchanted Reaper Scythe that's crafted, 50 million coins for an enchanted Reaper Scythe that is maxed with level 6 enchants. And I think the Scythe Blade, like the material you use to craft the Reaper Scythe, only goes for around 30 million coins right now. So if you want to invest in final Slayer, in final tier Slayer items, I will highly suggest for you guys to get the Reaper Scythe. So now moving on to the Overflux Power Orb, which I will be reviewing next. So first and foremost, what does the Overflux Power Orb do? Very simply, the Overflux Power Orb is like any of your other orbs, and it consumes 50% of a max mana upon use. However, it lasts for 60 seconds instead of 30 seconds, and the Overflux Power Orb also increases your mana regen by 100% instead of 50% from the Mana Flux Orb. On top of that, the Overflux Power Orb also regenerates 2.5 HP per second, and also increases the healing from every single source by 5%. On top of that, the Overflux Power Orb also gives you 25 strength, as well as to 5 other nearby players within an 18 block radius. So first and foremost, what do I think about the Overflux Power Orb? So the Overflux Power Orb is extremely overkill right now, because in the meta right now, like for clearing even tier 4 Slayers, you don't even need a Mana Flux. Like you can get away with just the Slayer armor, as well as just holding the Slayer weapon like a Reaper Falchion, or just a Poach Sword, or even a Scorpion Foil that's maxed. So yeah, there is actually no point to get an Overflux right now, but I'm sure with dungeons, which Jaya once again said that it will be suited for every single type of person, including players who are extremely at the end game, where they have absolutely nothing else to do and they have every single final Slayer item. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that when dungeons are released, Overflux would be actually very useful. And with that, I will predict that the demand for Overflux will increase even more after the release of dungeons. So I will highly suggest for you guys to buy the Overflux now, or wait 1 to 2 weeks before dungeons are released and announced, and buy them in between this time period and wait for the prices to drop a bit until like 100 million coins or around 90 million coins. Because right now, the Overflux Power Op costs 20 million coins. I mean the Overflux Power Op costs 120 million coins, so it's kind of pricey, but you might want to wait to see the prices drop for a while. And lastly, moving on, as you can see in the video, I tried to kill a tier 3 Tarantula Brutefather with it, with Ender Armor, without the Spider Head. It actually worked, and I actually beat it. So yeah, it shows you how strong the Overflux is actually capable of doing. And on top of that, I tried to kill a tier 4 Tarantula Brutefather, as seen here. It didn't go very well with Ender Armor, but at least I survived 20 seconds. So yeah, it shows you how strong the Overflux is capable of. Like, it's able to make Ender Armor players survive quite a bit of damage and quite a bit of abuse from the Slayer bosses. So yeah, I will highly suggest for you guys to get it, because it will not disappoint. It is by far the best Slayer item and the best item in the game. And last but not least, the Mosquito Bow. Oh dear, the tragic Mosquito Bow. Okay, sad to say, but even after the 0.7.5 buff that you got, which was like 20 extra damage and 10% extra damage on your ability, you are the worst Slayer item right now. Back in the day, Scythe actively harmed you and actually made it harder to fight bosses. But yeah, now it's actually better. And now Mosquito Bow, you don't outright harm the user, but you have no purpose in this game right now. Now, as you can see in the clip shown below, I know that it shows that the Mosquito Bow does more damage at 16,049 damage, while the Runan's bow only does 15,455 damage. So yeah, you guys might be asking, why isn't the Mosquito Bow still good? I mean, at least it does more damage, even though it costs like 20 times more. So yeah, right now, the Runans is actually still better. Reason being was because the clip I shown was me without armor. So basically, the problem with Runans is that because of its 40% multiplier on 2 arrows, so it basically means it gives it a plus 80% damage. That essentially means that every single crit damage, or every single strength, or every single base damage that the Runans have is effectively 1.8 damage, 1.8 strength, or 1.8 crit damage. Essentially meaning that the higher your base stats are for strength, damage, and even crit damage, the stronger your Runans will be. Whereas Mosquito Bow only has higher base stats, but it doesn't have a multiplier like Runans that is plus 80%. Mosquito only has a multiplier of plus 29%, and that is only on its ability. So that's why Mosquito is always going to fall behind Runans. So yeah, the Mosquito Bow right now is dropping in price severely, and the digested Mosquito drop itself only costs 25 million coins, whereas the bow itself only costs like 30 million coins, or at 35 million coins if it's with Power 6, Dragon Hunter 5, and with like all Hot Potato books. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend for you guys to get it, because you guys will definitely be disappointed if this is your first Slayer item. I will guarantee disappointment, because it is not a very good Slayer item, and it is the worst Slayer item I have ever seen. So yeah, and on top of that, it is worthy to buy it for the collection purposes, or for flex. Again, Slayer items are just for flex. It is a huge conspiracy. So yeah, however, since Jaya once again said that Slayer items would be expected to give the best bows, it wasn't reflected in update 0.7.5, but I believe that since Jaya said that they expected Slayers to give the best bows, eventually Mosquito Bow will get buffed. So I think you should buy it now if you're looking for an investment, because I'm pretty sure it will get really good in the future. So if you have a lot of money on your hands, you might want to buy a Mosquito Bow just for fun and just to keep it as an investment for future purposes when it gets buffed. So you save a lot of money in the future when it gets buffed and the demand increases and the price for it increases once again. So yeah, I wouldn't suggest for you to buy this if you just want power, but if you want to buy this if you want to buy the Mosquito bow as an investment, go right on. I think it is quite a safe and worthy investment, but it is quite disappointing, and that is all I have to say about the disappointing bow.